This is the Resilient Suppressor Jolene S. I am not affiliated with the Resilient Suppressor. I ain't making no money off of shilling you this Resilient Suppressor Jolene S. I'm just here to help the people that are looking for a suppressor, much like I was just a little bit ago. I'm a deer hunter. I shoot deer and I eat them. I'm not a gun channel. I love guns. I use them very frequently to shoot stuff, and I play with them. It's not technically a gun channel, but lately I've been. What happened was I thought, there's a lot of people like me that are looking for things just like I wanted, and I couldn't find any videos talking about this thing at this capacity or from somebody that actually hunts with it. Most people are tacti-bros that, just run it on ARs and stuff, and which is fine. That's cool too. It's just as much fun. But to hear it from somebody that's actually out there shooting deer with it, you couldn't find it, or I couldn't find it anywhere. I wanted a suppressor that was as quiet as possible, was my main thing. I wanted as quiet as possible, as light as possible, and short as possible. That was my main goals. That's the boxes I wanted to tick. I'm not going to bore you with specifics because I don't know the specifics. I don't know the suppressor jargon that well. I just know enough to be dangerous. Now, this thing is titanium, so it's light as a feather. It feels like a toy in your hand. Like when you take this thing off and hold it, it feels like you're holding an empty pop can, which is just crazy. You would never think that it could suppress sound as good as it does. There we go. You can just, look how easy that moves in my hand. You can tell. And the length of it was another big thing for me. They make the Jolene, which is a little bit longer, and I found a few people, after months of research, I found a few people that said the longer one and the shorter one on a 300 blackout, they couldn't hardly tell the difference. Their own personal experience. Now, this isn't decibel meters set up. This is like what somebody's saying. And to me, that's just as valuable as anything. If I got somebody saying, this suppressor will give you negative 9 million decibels, we tested it. And you've got Joe Bob that's saying, dude, I've shot 20 of them, and that one is the best. I'm going to listen to Joe Bob. The numbers are cool, and I appreciate them. That'll give me some good ideas, but Joe Bob is going to have Joe Bob's going to give me a better idea of what I'm looking for rather than numbers on a piece of paper. The two main contenders that I had for a suppressor for my specific use case of deer hunting or throwing this thing on a 300 blackout, throwing it on a 30-06, a 308, anything like that. The two main contenders for me was the Jolene S and the Hydrogen S by Otter Creek Labs. They both make a longer version that's about that long. This is the short one. I wanted the stubby one because you're packing a gun on your shoulder in the woods. I didn't want a stinking suppressor sticking up 32 inches in the air behind me, grabbing every stinking limb that I walk under. That was my reasoning in going short. Also, the few people that I seen saying that with a 300 blackout specifically, you're not going to notice a ton of difference from going to the long one to the short one. That's just what I heard. This one has so far performed perfectly for my needs. I talked to a few guys that were like, what do you need in a suppressor? And I told them, they were like, you want a hard use suppressor. You want stainless steel, full auto rated. And I was like, dude, I'm just shooting deer, G.I. George. I don't need no boat anchor hanging off the end of my deer rifle trying to shoot deer with it. I wanted something light and functional. And with the wait times right now at the ATF of getting a suppressor, now is the time to do it. I don't know if they're going to abolish that tax stamp. If they do, that would be cool. But this one took 48 hours. So I went up, bought it, paid for it, done all the paperwork, and in 48 hours they called me and said, your suppressor's ready, come get it. So I went and got it. This back piece does come off. I've never had it off. I've only ran it on this 300 blackout so far. It's perfect for that, man. I've shot, let's see. So I started the season with it, took it out, took a friend of mine out, got him his first deer with it. He shot the deer at about 40 yards. You could hear the bullet. This was with supersonic ammo. I didn't want to take the chance of going subsonic deer hunting with somebody who's never shot one. I wanted to make sure he could get it. So he shoots his deer. It runs about 40 yards and just lays down. Unfortunately, he made a gut shot on it. Thanks to the suppressor, I believe. I don't know if a full blast would have spooked the deer off further, but he shot the deer. It ran 40 yards and laid down right next to us. And I was like, you need to shoot that deer again. So he racked another round and ended up shooting the deer perfectly on the second shot for a follow-up, and we got it. So the next deer, me and the same guy that got his first deer up there went to an old redneck tree stand, and what we thought was a doe walked around the hill. He ended up shooting it. Unfortunately, it was a spike, but it was his second deer, so we're gonna accept it. A little bit later, a doe comes out. I shoot her. She goes down the hill, crashes. And then that evening, after we found out that he had shot a spike and had accidentally used his buck tag, I was the one buck hunting. So we walked back to a similar location as the first spot, had this buck come out on me. I was on the ground. It was just a crazy experience, probably 30 or 40 yards away. The buck walks down the hill, and there was a bunch of limbs in between me and him, and I could see him in my crosshairs, and I was just waiting for him to get on the other side of these limbs. Finally, he does, but I think I miscalculated, and I either had gut shot him or had hit another limb. And he runs about 15 yards and then just stops. Well, when he stops, everything from here back is covered. His neck is sticking out looking over our way. I had already re-racked, and I made a follow-up shot, hit him right in the neck, and just dropped him immediately. And I don't know if I would have had that opportunity had I not had this. And what's crazy about it is we had like 5 or 10 people up there at the farm with us, and every time we come back from hunting, everybody would ask, like, did you guys shoot? Was that you guys that shot earlier? And we'd be like, no. Or if we did, they'd be like, I knew it. I knew it. It's like, it's a weird sound. You just hear like a tss. It's just a little pff. Let's just do this. Let's just go over the pros and cons, in my opinion, of running this suppressor for deer hunting. The pros: you're not exploding your eardrums. Pro number 2 is, I would say, I feel like it's given me more opportunities to make follow-up shots. I feel like it's probably helping more deer come into the area after you do take one. So for example, Travis shot that spike, and just a few minutes later the doe came over the hill into the same holler, and I ended up taking her. So maybe that wouldn't have happened without this. You can never say for sure, but I feel like that's what happened. Another pro I would say is it's just flipping cool, dude. Come on, you're out there sniping deer suppressed with this thing. Too cool. My wife loves me more. That's the last pro. I think my wife actually likes me better now that I have this. Let's jump to the cons. I would say the biggest con is the price tag. So with this one, $6.50 for the can itself, probably $20 or something for the tax or getting your fingerprints scanned. So out the door, getting this thing home, you're looking at probably $900, man. And that is a lot for just something to gain those pros that I just said. That's kind of a lot to me. Like, that's a lot of money for not a ton of gain, but it's something that I've wanted since I was a kid playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The next biggest con is probably going to be the awkwardness of adding this much length to a barrel. So if you have a 26-inch barrel, like 308 or some kind of gun, and you're sticking this thing on it too, you're gaining that much on the end of it. And that might not seem like a lot, but that is a lot, because you're already packing a gun with a 26-inch barrel. It's probably sticking up this high over your head, and you're sticking this on top of it too. You are getting way up there. That is why I went with the little 16-inch gun, or 16-inch barrel on a gun. It makes it much more handy to actually pack around in the woods, because with this added length to that gun, I'm at about probably 22 inches or something. So it's still kind of a short barrel, and you can like manipulate it and get it under stuff. That's really the cons: price and awkwardness. That's the only thing I can think of. If I was telling somebody to get a suppressor specifically for hunting and some light playing around, I would recommend this one every time out of the ones I've shot. Now, I don't have a wealth of knowledge. I've not shot 20, 30 suppressors to determine which one is the best, But I do know that the sound suppression that you get with this is extremely acceptable for my use. The price was acceptable. The length and weight is very acceptable for a deer hunter or something along those lines. I can't see anything better. I would have went with the Otter Creek Labs Hydrogen S, but it was severely out of stock and they couldn't get me one in time for deer season, and I wanted one now because I'm an American and we want things when we want them and we get them when we want them. I hope I helped you make a decision as far as what you want now that you've heard some real world opinions of somebody that's not just trying to sell you crap.